G2, you expect like a Celeste and then Lance in the jungle, and we'll see what happens with the captain, right? But that's not been the case recently. They've started to change things up and already locking in a rhyme for Dark Potato. We already know they're going, Churnwalker coming in for SK.
I believe this is our first European Churnwalker that we've gotten.
I think so.
This will be really exciting, especially someone as talented as Hegman getting his hands on this hero. We'll see how it's going to work out for them. You expect the draft for SK to then now revolve around a little bit of AoE damage. You want to be able to just, the more you can spread that damage around, the more effective this pick becomes. They ban away the Black Feather. Interesting to see that Black Feather, isn't even one of the first 2 picks, because normally that's where he ends up.
Right, it's very interesting indeed. And we've talked about before how Black Feather synergizes well with Churnwalker because you take the counter pick away. To SK Gaming deciding to ban it away, so they must have a very specific pick in mind. I'm excited to see what that pick is going to be next time they on the second rotation. Churnwalker, SK, they're always a team that wants to know exactly what is the strongest in the update. They were a little bit behind because they were focusing on mobile masters last weekend. They were coming back from North America, so they didn't have the time to practice Churnwalker, but now that another week has passed, they have practiced Churnwalker, and you can see it here, first pick.
And also, that's not like EU as a region was totally behind, because let's bear in mind, only Cloud9 and TSM have played this Churnwalker previously. Like, this is not just an EU thing. This is basically every team except the top NA.
And I wonder if this also means that G2 has been playing the Churnwalker in scrims or something, because for the fact that no other team has been picking it, and then they decide that they want to get it immediately, because if no one else is picking it, they could have just saved this for a later pick and rounded out a composition like that, but instead putting the emphasis on it shows me that they were worried about G2 perhaps taking this one away. It'll be interesting to see how it obviously pairs pretty well with the Vox, because you do have the damage that gets spread around a bit. Those resonance bounces can start to affect all 3 targets twice now, but it'll be the final pick. I think is going to be the most telling. It's a little surprising to me that they banned away that Black Feather instead of picking it for themselves, because it leaves the Arden available for G2. And Arden with a rhyme. This rhyme is virtually unkillable when he's getting these shields on top of his fortified health.
Yeah, I mean, the composition coming from G2, the Kestrel, Rhyme, Arden, I actually like it quite a bit. It's very strong. We talked about it specifically last week, and we said all 3 heroes are extremely strong in 2.9. Not only that, but they're really strong together, and G2 gets a great composition. Works really well against Vox because you're able to outrange him with the Kestrel. Rhyme is actually one of the better picks into Churnwalker because you're able to lock him down and focus him down. So, in my opinion, G2 having a good draft so far.
I want to see SK locking an alpha right here. We saw TSM run the alpha alongside Churnwalker, and you can do so much AoE damage, terrifying amounts, especially at the start of the game. That could be the way that they finish out this composition. It's going to be a Samuel in the end coming out from them, so definitely playing this ranged composition, which is kind of what we were expecting to see out of Churnwalker compositions coming into the first week of 2.9.
Yeah, and this is one of those compositions where there could be some difficulty from the side of G2 to get onto this backline, because obviously Churnwalker is going to get those chains down, and then mostly, I feel like G2 is going to want to try and ignore the Churnwalker to get to these carries, but they're not going to be able to, because Churnwalker is going to be pulling them back, using the trespass to stun them all up, hook them all again, pull them back again. It's going to be very, very difficult for the Kestrel and the Rhyme to get past Churnwalker and onto the back lines, but you don't want to be focusing Churnwalker because he's just going to be healing for so much in these fights too.
I do expect G2 to play really aggressive in the early game. They have the Rhyme versus the Samuel matchup. A lot faster clear speed and better last hitting. So Rhyme is going to be invading the Samuel, trying to steal camps away. And if they manage to get ahead, especially with how strong Kestrel gets late game with a few crit items, I actually don't think they need to dive behind the Churnwalker. They can just lock him down with the roots, with the Valkyrie, just stun him down, and then focus him. Kestrel will shred right through him, especially if Vox is not able to do too much. So G2, it's looking good for them so far.
All right, we'll see if they can take this one away. Hashtag Vainglory8 on Twitter. Let us know who you think is going to take this one. It's time to find out if SK can move on to the semi-finals or whether G2 are going to be their first hurdle this weekend. It's time to pass it once again to our casters.
The first hurdle for SK or the first hurdle on G2's way to Worlds, Munchables? It's all about how you look at it here. G2 Esports hungry to take down SK right now. Sean Ostino, do you think this is a draft they can do it with?
I think they can, actually. They have a lot of early game potential here with the Rhyme to be able to dive in. I feel like Dark Potato does have to prioritize his boots. After he gets his first CP tier 3 damage item, if he gets some Journey boots on there, he's going to be really mobile on this Rhyme. That'll allow him to get in there and do some serious damage with those auto attacks, Winter Spires, and just build up his fortified health to be able to sustain, survive, and just continue the damage output. But I really feel like SK, they're a team that knows how to do the aggression. And look at that.
Iris just stole the Elder Treant away. I feel like Keon and Nakoa just took a dirt nap and boots have been activated. I feel like Hundor's about to go down here.
Double kill.
Hooking chains across the board. Hegman coming alive. SK want a place at Worlds. They're going to take 2 kills right off the bat. Dark Potato. Oh, you're a Rhyme? Oh, I couldn't tell that he was meta.
I couldn't tell either, and that's exactly what we've been talking about. It looks like we have a pause here, Humanist. Technical difficulties may be coming about. Players are responsible for their own connections, so we'll see what happens. But you can already see there early game, in these level 1 and level 2 fights, that Hegman on this Churnwalker, throwing out his chains, putting people on the leash, is giving him such great his Futility of Life perk. It's stealing life, and it's allowing the damage to be conferred on the other enemies that are chained up as well. So with, and Tasty Bacon actually touched on this, with Dark Potato on this Rhyme, he typically has a lot of fortified health that he's known for, so that allows him to be really tanky. However, if his fortified health is constantly getting reduced because of the damage output conferred onto him by the Futility of Life, by the chains that Churnwalker's throwing out, he's almost a mute point at this case, because he's not going to be able to have the same kind of sustain.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And honestly, look at the
Damage coming out there.
Yeah, the damage that's coming out is the AoE out of Tyrus is going to be really good at synergizing with Churnwalker as well. He's going to be able to just... The AoE, along with the conferring of the damage from the Futility of Life, is really, really good. And we're just going to have to see a lot of the resonance bounces as well. So AoE damage, resonance bounces, it's going to be really great. Hegman throwing out some chains over there.
Throwing some chains out. Keanu taking a lot of damage as well on Hundor, and Hundor just trying to last hit from max range there. Hegman very healthy moving forward. And one of the other things is Hegman also has his own healing flask. He's bullying them out now. SK moving forward down in the jungle. Tyrus, he's got Dark Potato pinned in, a little hook and chain as they take Dark Potato out. And this Rhyme is just getting worked over right now.
Yes, and check out what SK is doing, Humanist. They're actually going into the jungle, taking advantage of the map pressure that they have there in lane already. And while we have Dark Potato rotating back, we actually have Tyrus stealing away his jungle camps. Check out the farm. We have 6 farm for Dark Potato versus 26 for Tyrus. This is a really good lead, and they could snowball this. Hegman's getting aggressive.
Hegman on the front line. He's going to pop the healing flask. He's got 1 hook and chain. There goes the second onto Dark Potato. Tyrus. Oh, Tyrus! Okay, Tyrus is level 5 at 3 minutes to the level 3 Rhyme. Like, what is happening here?
The torment is what happened, Humanist. Hegman had those chains out. Yeah, sure, the chain's not hurting that much. You know, it's only doing 18% lifesteal. But as he continues to go out, he can still be on the chain if he doesn't break it. He was able to pull that torment in, get another extra hit from Tyrus onto him, and that's what took him out.
A lot of turret damage coming out by SK as G2 pinned against the tier 1 turret here. Hegman taking a good amount of damage for his team, definitely the front line. No longer has that healing flask, and he's sitting low on health, so this is like, oh, well, G2 are as well, but this is the best situation G2 have found themselves in as far as dealing with the Churnwalker. As far as the first 4 minutes of this game, this would also be the first jungle rotation that Dark Potato has been able to cleanly take for himself, and he's only taken the back half of it.
We do see a Poison Shiv actually coming online for Cavalifar. It's going to allow him to do some extra sustain there in the lane during these team fights, get off some extra damage as well. And this is great because the sustain is the name of the game here. For the Fount of Renewal actually picked up by Churnwalker. That's going to allow him to keep his allies healthy there. Dragon's Eye also picked up by Tyrus. Tier 3 is coming out across the board, and Keanu Nakoa.
Yeah, Keanu Nakoa trying to front line for his team, put sleep by that Oblivion. Oh, he popped his own healing flask. Look at the splash damage from the Malice of Earth, and that's going to be the turret going down. Money in the bank for SK, who now find themselves like 3.7k gold lead in the net worth. They're going to drop down to the Crystal Sentry here as well. This is just a very clean rotations, very easy objective takes coming from SK.
Very easy objective takes, and we saw the rotations right there. After that turret went down, they knew that they couldn't do anything about it, so G2 just backed. They went ahead and picked up some of their tier 3 items there, but we did have SK rotate into their jungle and capitalize on that turret going down and the back ports from G2. So now we see that that sentry has one life less, and that's going to be a good objective that they just took right there for late game. These hooks are coming out all over the place, and they may not do that much damage, or rather the damage that they do is kind of a little bit subtle, not so obvious. But what really is getting G2 right now is these torments right there. You just see Keanu Nakoa being pulled back just a little bit, putting him in a better position for SK to do more damage, especially with the AoE attacks coming out of Tyrus.
Yeah, Hegman and Tyrus are in deep. Volafar continues to shove the lane. It puts Hundor in a position where he wants to team fight down there where they could potentially have a 3 versus 2 advantage, but at the same time he needs to keep the lane pushed out or he's going to be missing some farm here. Vanguard on the Potato, and actually the back healing camp went over to Tyrus, so SK continuously just finding the advantage here. Hegman, he's got the hook and chain out onto Keanu, the Crystal Sentry. It's down on Hundor as well. An Oblivion over the top, a lot of damage coming out. Wait for it came through as well. Hegman just the front line. Look how tanky he is. And what can G2 do? Keanu, he gets the Vanguard over to Hundor. One more attack would have taken him down. Hook and chain, Dark Potato runs away, able to break that by just getting away from them, using that distance. And Hundor hanging around trying to get these last hits. He's sitting on a sliver of health. It would just take a Malice Verdict combo from Tyrus to take him out. Woo! A little buddy block there from Volafar to save Tyrus. Tyrus almost going down to a scout trap even.
Good damage rotation right there by Cavalifar. He knew that Tyrus was pretty low, so putting himself in the middle of that one-shot, one-kill was actually able to save Tyrus's life and keep SK at that 4-0. Perfect game so far. It's 7 minutes in right now. We've got to see Dark Potato prioritize a little bit more movement speed here. He has great synergy with this Arden. Keanu Nakoa is able to give him those Vanguards just like we saw right there and speed him up. Giving that 2 extra speed boost is really useful for the Rhyme. I mean, look how slow he is right there. He's got to prioritize Journey Boots, though, but he still also needs to get that Shatterglass. Once he gets that Shatterglass, he's going to be a really big damage output threat here to SK. But SK, they just seem to be so far ahead right now. They're over 3,000 gold in the lead, Humanist. We have a Dragon's Eye on Tyrus. Looks like he's working towards an Eve of Harvest as well. Shatterglass finally picked up by Rhyme. So there's a damage output. He's going to be able to up his fortified health that way, sustain a little bit longer. But Hegman's coming in.
Yeah, they're moving in. A nice trespass there to stun up Dark Potato, but the Valkyrie buying enough time. Look at the healing coming out of the fortified health. Can they turn this around? Can G2 do it? SK dropping low. Hundor's here. Hundor is very healthy in fighting shape. It's Hegman, last man standing for SK. What a rotation by Hundor. And Keanu Nakoa will chase him down with his ally. Kill. There you go. Double kill coming through for the Kestrel. And that is exactly what G2 needed.
That is exactly what they need to do. Being able to force them to stay in the gauntlet like that was actually a really smart move. That way, Hegman is not able to do as much as he wants to and reposition with those torments. The trespass, great. It was able to stun them up. It looks like this gold mine's going to be going over to G2. But let's go ahead and take a look at the replay there. And all right, Humanist, take it away.
And we're back.
Replay gone.
Oh, that was one of the best replays I've seen in a while. I like it. We're back into the game, though. 5-3. SK have advantage here. Small net worth lead. They've been looking good all early game. I don't know if it was just a matter of being caught by surprise, but G2 won that last fight. Well, I personally, Sean, I want to give a lot of credit over to Dark Potato. He was getting lit up. I thought, you know what, here he's about to go down. But boom! Drops the Valkyrie, Winter Spires, basic attacks. The Fountain comes out of Keanu Nakoa. And he survived just long enough to allow Hundor to make that rotation down.
Yeah, he did. And Hegman, what's really important about Churnwalker is being able to reposition during the fights. But if you're stunned up, sure, you can try to stun up the enemies with your trespass, but if you're stunned up yourself, you're not going to be able to be very much used to use your trespass or use your torments to pull people away. Especially if you are in a gauntlet, you need to be able to use your blocks to get out of the gauntlet. It takes a lot of mechanical skill, and here's
Gauntlet's down. Who can get out of the gauntlet? The Crucible's there, but Tyrus is getting lit up. Tyrus walks right into it, stunned up on the edge. G2 on the chase. G2 want to go to Worlds. Glimmer shot coming forward. K-Ball kiting back with the Sonic Zoom. K-Ball 14 breaking point stacks. Is he thinking about turning this around? K-Ball, you thinking about turning this around? Sonic Zoom, 2 attacks, 3 attacks, mortal wound supplied. You have to remember, this is one of the big deals. Poison Shiv does so good against Rhyme and Arden, kind of negating a little bit of their natural sustaining tankiness, but K-Ball, he's going to look to try and hold this here. Hundor has a lot of damage output. K-Ball has to respect it. And look at that. Oh, man. Hundor mowing over this turret.
Yeah, really smart moves by G2, actually, to split their focus between the turret and have Dark Potato rotate down. They were able to capitalize and steal away the mid and the fronts, but Hegman, he's going in. He wants some more with these chains.
Hegman wants more. How about a little Torment? He's going to pull him back. On the front side, Tyrus not too scared. Tyrus, the Drifting Dark, Malice and Verdict. You got to respect the fact that Hundor can light you up. Hundor, dude, rotate around the bottom, light him up. Sentry eliminated. One shot, almost threading the needle. It will connect onto Tyrus. That would have killed Hegman for sure. Hundor throwing the Glimmer shot there into that shot brush, but you can tell. All right, G2 is on the back foot, but they can definitely pack a punch.
This is a push back and push forth coming out of G2. They've been on the back foot for a lot of the game. We're at 11 minutes in Humanist, and we actually saw their Crystal Sentry getting eliminated, going down this early in the game. This is a really precarious situation for them. They're not going to be able to fall back into the safety of their own jungle as they had before. But at the same time, we do have Hegman not able to chain up as many enemies as he would normally. Still, though, that's still 3 chains that he's able to throw out and just confer a lot of damage there, do a lot of those torments, pull them back, and just reposition the side of G2.
3 chains. That is just such a dangerous situation. Once you find yourself in that, hopefully G2 won't. And I think especially if you have all 3 of G2 chained up, that's just real bad, because this Kestrel wants to remain elusive and around the edges of the fights. And if you're getting chained up, you're pulled back, locked down, that's just all bad.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to kite effectively as this weapon power Kestrel. Her invis on her active camo is not as long in duration as a CP Kestrel would be, but she wants to be able to reposition, throw down those active camos, maybe get some stuns in. But she's not able to do that if she's constantly being repositioned just like this.
Little Torment there, yanking Hundor back. Hundor, quick little active camo himself. Now, Tyrus just sieging. Tyrus is the longest range here for just the poke damage to come out, and he's done a great job. Tyrus really stepping up for SK pretty much from the moment he came on this team, but always improving. Now, Drifting Dark's out. Keanu soaking up a lot of the damage there. Hundor taking a little bit of that splash damage as well. Hegman sitting there with the hook and chain, but I'm like, where's Dark Potato, man? Dark Potato finally making his way back out into the lane. Now Keanu needs to heal. Hundor not sitting on full health either, and SK bear down on this turret here. And this is going to be more hook and chains coming out from Hegman as soon as he gets the cooldown ready to throw that. Dark Potato latched up. He's going to miss the second. They just keep walking back, out of max range to break the chains there, but Hegman doing a very good job to keep them up consistently.
I feel like a lot of these teams have seen what a really good Churn Walker can do. Ooh, Keanu could be cut out of position. He's being yanked back right there.
Yeah, yank him back. Just kind of let him know, hey man, I'm in control here. don't start thinking for a second that you're actually in control. I'm in control.
Another really cool thing about the overdrives on that Torment is you're able to get really good pulls on them. So not only can you, if you max out the hook and chain, you can also have them further away from you, still chained up, but you can also max out and overdrive the Torment and pull them closer to you. It's a much stronger pull. So that's going to be really effective once he's able to do that in the next couple of levels. He just needs to invest a couple more points into there for Hegman. We do see Clockwork picked up by Tyrus. He's got that Dragon's Eye Clockwork build going on right there. AoE damage is really good when paired up with with Turnwalker because he's able to just confer the damage multiple times throughout those chains. Minion candy popped onto those minions. There's only one left though.
Who's
Gauntlet comes
conferring
down.
the damage to who? Hundor moves in. Dark Potato around the backside. Dark Potato lighting up K-Volifar. Look at the stun right there on the K-Volifar. Hundor trading. Can the glitter shots come through? They have the massive damage. Everybody solo. K-Volifar slow. Tyrus and K-Volifar popped. Now the chase is on. Chill wins some Winter Spires. Some glitter shots coming down to Bipe as well. And that's going to be the aces. G2 turn that one around 7-5 now. 15 minutes in. That's a perfect fight. They're also probably going to take Kraken off the back of that one. That was a thing of beauty.
What a big turnaround. Yeah, you never want to be able to lose a team fight, especially getting aced right when the Kraken is respawning, Humanist. And we see those death timers still kind of low right now since it's only 15 minutes into the game, and that turret just got destroyed. However, there is no way that they're going to be able to contest this damage output from Hundor and Dark Potato is just too much, and now the Kraken is on the leash for them. Let's go ahead and take a look at the replay there. So we actually saw the root. The gauntlet was down, stunned up K-Volifar, and as he was going down, he was just so low despite the sustain that he has. We had Hegman trying to reposition the rest of G2, but he wasn't able to do it quite well enough, and that resulted in a triple kill and an ace for this Kestrel. The damage output from Hundor is just obscene right now. Sorrow Blade, 2 Tyrant's Monocles, and a Piercing Spear working towards a possible Tension Bow right there. Oh,
I would have been spamming We Need Vision, man, because Dark Potato came around from the backside. Tyrus has a lot of damage, and he's been pretty elusive just off his positioning, but Dark Potato walked around the backside and completely caught them out. That was a huge credit to him and the shot calls for this whole G2 squad. Now Kraken marches forward. Keanu pulls the trigger on a gauntlet. Hegman's there with the trespass. He has the stun. Can they find the damage? K-Volifar, but the Valkyrie's actually off the mark. Hundor, he's slipped around to the bottom. He's glimmer shotting and attacking. He's gotten 1 turret down. Kraken's still fairly healthy. Hegman's gonna move down. Eats a bunch of glimmer shots. Tyrus as well, trying to juke and jive, but look at Keanu. He's blocking it. He actually gets him. Hundor is going insane. Hundor is going off. Last turret's getting taken down. K-Volifar can't take out the Kestrel. No, he can't. K-Volifar takes out the Kestrel. He's got a double kill. Kraken's slow. He get on the potato. Get onto the potato. It's the darkest potato that you ever seen. SK now. G2 have done it. G2. Woo-hoo! G2, man. Oh, what a game.
What a game, Humanist. G2 playing on the back foot for about 3/4 of this game, and they just got a couple of good aces in there, and they were able to just continue to push. Losing the fight at the time the Kraken respawn was not the best thing for SK, and that was a really great facilitation for G2 to be able to push so many turrets right there at the end and took them game 1 in the series.
Oh, that was so clean. So clean. And it's so important for SK to be winning matches moving forward. More important for G2. Anyway, we can talk about this all day long. Munchables, take this away with our analyst guy. What happened here?
Late game Hundor happened, I believe, is the phrase. G2 come back swinging in this one. Fantastic stuff to see. We are going to see G2 1-0 up in this series, but SK started off strong. Right from the word go, we saw SK absolutely coming out of the gates.
Yeah, SK was really being aggressive early on, and it was kind of surprising to see because we figured that the Rhyme was going to have this early game advantage. Ended up just not being the case, though, because it looked like G2 was almost not ready for SK to be going so aggressive.
I mean, the Rhyme will get the advantage after he clears his rotation a couple of times, because then he's able to utilize the fact that he's cleared his rotation faster than the Samuel. But first level, before anything was cleared, the range composition will always have the advantage, especially with Turnwalker, who's such a strong early game captain, especially level 1. SK pushed aggressively, and they were able to get the first kill.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the replay of that first kick, that kind of kickoff fight, if you will, where we saw SK being so aggressive right from the word go.
Yeah, and it looked like they were really going to be trying to just pressure the side of G2, make sure Dark Potato didn't get these clears and didn't get this early power spike. They did a great job of shutting him down early. Dark Potato, his average first tier 3 item comes at about the 5-minute 50-second mark. This game, it didn't come out until about the 7-minute and 50-second mark, so almost a full 2 minutes behind his regular first item pickup timer, and they were able to get that early lead, but then once that first tier 3 item did come out, all of a sudden Dark Potato on this rhyme. We got to see why this rhyme has been getting banned almost every game.
Absolutely. Now we can take a look at the next replay, which was the first ace of the game coming through at around 8 minutes in. This is when the action had really started to kick off.
Yeah, the action had really started, and we can see here Rhyme, he's being focused, but he's so tanky, especially he lands a 3-man Valkyrie right there, stunning all 3 members of SK, and also giving himself so much more fortified health. He allowed Kestrel, he gave Kestrel the time to come down and clean up the team fight with that huge, incredible play with the Valkyrie. The Fountain also coming in from Keanu, letting him survive a little bit longer, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Rhyme is so tanky. He's able to deal damage to gain his fortified health.
Yeah, and that fight was literally about 10 seconds after he had picked up that Shatter Glass. It just shows how impactful that first tier 3 item can be to a team fight. Even if you've been behind all game, that first tier 3 item is such a big impact.
Yeah.
And again, it's something that I don't think we talk about enough, is the difference of having an item that you just purchased versus a team that has gold in their pockets to spend. That was what allowed G2 to kind of get back into this game.
I mean, a gold lead doesn't mean anything if it's still in your pockets. Let's take a look at the next replay. This was an ace that led into a Kraken, and this was a huge swing in terms of the momentum of the game.
Yeah, and with this gauntlet coming out, it was an issue where the rest of the team was just not able to then take care of Dark Potato. Dark Potato got his huge flank off. The gauntlet went down, and they couldn't just leave the gauntlet to deal with Dark Potato getting onto the backlines. It was excellent positioning and an excellent flank from G2.
And that was also when Kestrel had picked up her second Tyrant's Monocle. So we talked about how Kestrel becomes so strong late game when she picks up a couple of crit items. That was exactly the scenario in that team fight. She picked up the crit items. She was able to focus Vox first, burst him out, and push him away until she was able to finish him off later with the Samuel. Churnwalker ended up in an awkward position also that team fight where he couldn't support his team too much. So great team fight from G2 at that point.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at how the game ended as well. G2 obviously did manage to finish things off, but it was an exceptionally close end to the game.
Yeah, this looked like it could have gone either way. SK did eventually actually get the ace off of this, but as G2 just playing this patiently, waiting for their opportunities to get in onto the turrets and just staying back. This is something that we've seen a lot more teams doing now, is just taking the right opportunities when they have Kraken pushing in. And G2, again, took their time. They waited till Kraken got to these turrets. They went in for the fight before going underneath both turrets, and then they just say, okay, fight's kind of over. Let's just focus on the objectives, make sure the Kraken gets onto the Vein Crystal, and we can close out the game from there.
That damage coming from Kestrel. Did you see the crit? 600 damage from a Glimmer Shot and then a 600 auto attack right afterwards. Samuel didn't have a chance at that point.
Yeah, Tyrus just got absolutely deleted in that one. And we've now set G2 up to potentially take a series here against SK, which honestly, coming into this week, if SK makes it to the finals, EU's kind of over, except for the bottom of the table seeing who gets out of challenge battles. Once SK qualifies for Worlds, the rest of these top of the table teams don't have a whole lot to fight for. But if G2 can finish off this series, everything is still very much up for grabs.
Yeah, especially with Mouse taking their series, and then you've got the coming up next, Dynasty and Fnatic. Like, all of these teams are in the mix if SK does not make it to the finals this week. So this could be absolutely massive for all of these teams if G2 takes a win.
Honestly, this is one of the most important. In fact, I would go as far as to say, so far this season, this is the most important series that we've seen.
Yeah.
G2 now 1-0 up. Let's get into the draft. Krull and Rhyme going to be the first fans, which means Black Feather open for the first pick.
Is Churnwalker going to be picked up here? That's the question that I had going into this draft. Is it going to be a priority pick for both teams, since SK picked it up last game and did well with it, in my opinion? They played well around it, especially in the early game. Of course, they didn't win the game though, so G2 might consider it less of a priority pick. Rhyme and Krull, very standard picks, and as you said, the Black for the first pick for SK, such a flexible hero that you can pick as a first pick.
Interesting to see this Grace now getting banned so frequently. It was a pick that the first few weeks wasn't really seen. Didn't have a ton of priority from any of these teams, but then had a couple of games last week where it started to get some really serious results, and I think teams realized, okay, it may not be the 40% damage reduction that she used to have, but 30% damage reduction is still a pretty impressive number.
Yeah.
And of course, the Divine Intervention's as effective as ever. So it makes sense that we're seeing this Grace get a little bit more priority put on her.
And I think a large part of that as well is specifically in conjunction with the Black Feather, right? Because she enables the Black Feather playstyle so damn well that when you're G2, you really don't want them to grab that one. But then Arden does as well. Arden equally strong, I would say, in the current meta. But SK taking a long time to consider this ban.
I think that's because the Kestrel is still open. They want to ban something that's more of a priority pick in general in 2.9, such as the Alpha, such as the Churnwalker that we just talked about, and the Vox. But G2, how they played Kestrel last game and how Hundor plays around that pick in general, it makes you debate whether do we want to go for a target ban or a priority ban. They chose the Vox. Is SK or G2 going to pick up the Kestrel? In my opinion, it would be a great pick for them because they have the Lyra. The Bulwark helps her survive the Black Feather dive, and especially once you have enough weapon power, you're able to activate your trap on command and be able to go invisible to survive him for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised that G2 is even taking this long on this. This seems like a really obvious and a really easy Kestrel pick for them, but maybe thinking because of the fact that this SK didn't ban it away, that they had something else in mind. They're going to go for this Alpha instead. Alpha is one of my favorite junglers on this current update right now. She's able to do so much damage when you go for a crystal build. It's actually obnoxious. It is. Other than the Black Feather, I'd say she might be one of the strongest heroes this update.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that the Churnwalker, however, goes through for SK Gaming, and they go for it immediately. I was going to say the Catherine Baptiste, the combo was still open, but SK prioritized Churnwalker over it. So the Black Feather at this point can still go into the lane, can still into the jungle. SK trying to round out the composition with something they think they're the strongest with. If I had to guess, I would say the Black Feather will probably go in lane, especially since Kvalifar plays that pick really well. However, in the jungle, as weapon power, it can still play well against the Alpha. The Ozo comes
Look at it. And this is the beauty of Churnwalker, right? The cleave. When you go with something like an Ozo that has so much AoE, and you can get that to hit multiple targets, you can melt through teams. Rona coming out on the other side.
I love update 2.9.
Yeah, this is going to... Look at the composition. All melee. This is going to be a brawl.
It's going to be an absolute brawl. Lyra, the only member that is a ranged hero, and she's not really going to be focusing on the damage being dealt. So it's going to be absolutely hectic in these team fights, and whichever team can manage that, can have that controlled chaos type of style, I think is going to be the team that ends up with an advantage here.
Now, I wouldn't. Someone please explain to me the Ozo and the Rona picks here, because these are not things that we've seen a lot in previous updates. What is the logic to this?
So the Ozo, like you said, with the Churnwalker, you need that AoE damage, you need the durability on the front line to also go in with the Churnwalker. Ozo serves perfectly with that in mind. He goes for the Aftershock. I'm assuming he's going to go CP in the jungle. Goes for the Aftershock, becomes so strong. Healing comes through, and then the Alpha or the Rona on the other hand is just because it's a triple melee composition that they're going up against. So the Rona does really well against that, especially if she's able to red mist on top of all three characters.
All right, so just able to survive in these fights, stick on that front line. It's time to get on into the game. Hashtag Vainglory8. Let us know whether you think G2 can finish this one 2-0 or if SK are pushing this to a game number 3. It's time to pass it back over to Humanist and Sean Ostino for game number 2.
Well, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. SK Gaming versus G2 Esports. This is game 2. G2 are up 1 in this best of 3 series. And these are some really fun drafts. I'm here with Sean Ostino. Sean, break this down for us a little bit.
Oh my goodness, Humanist. Well, first of all, I'd like to say your boy Ozo, he made it to the fold today while you were casting. Right so you're going to have some fun casting this game. But yeah, Iraqi was just mentioning it. The AoE damage that comes out of Ozo's abilities is going to be really good in synergizing with the Churnwalker that Hegman is playing. It's going to be able to confer a lot more damage as long as we've got at least 3 chains out. Well, any chains, really. Let's get some chains out on the enemy team. We're going to be able to confer 30% of the damage that's coming out, and it's going to be an additional because it's AoE damage too, so we're going to have even more damage as well.
I mean, there is an ideal situation, right? 3 chains, 3 acro bounces onto all 3. They probably just pop. Like, I don't know. They might just instantly lose the series if that happens. So I don't know how it really works. I don't know the inner workings.
Well, Alpha might pop because she does have her termination protocol, but if she does... See, that's the thing with her, though, is that she has a lot of sustain because she has a really big health bar, pretty much. She has 2, sometimes even 3 lives. And then we have Hundor on this Rona, who has a lot of sustain built into his kit
Right.
with the red mist, right? If he's able to hit multiple targets, he's going to get a barrier or additional barrier for each of those targets at a certain percentage. So it's going to be pretty good sustain as long as he's able to hit a lot of targets.
All right, Hundor, he's there with the foe splitter. Hegman just continues to throw these chains out, allowing DK Volifar to just try and last hit sustain here a bit with his Book of Eulogies early on. This is Ozo in the jungle as well as Dark Potato. Now, Tyrus making his rotation up. That's a Bright Bulwark down. If they can get on target, this is going to be some acro bouncing action. Keanu pops his Healing Flask, 3-ring Circus, 1-2. It's going to take Keanu down low. But Tyrus showing that the threat is there as soon as he makes that rotation up into the lane. They don't get a gank. This does allow Dark Potato to take the Elder Treant.
Yeah, the Carney Luck was actually not with them right there. They were really close to taking out Keanu Nakoa, but he was able to sustain and get away. And now we see a lot of vision being prioritized by both teams now. They don't want to get any of these these early level ganks here on the fold. We do see some Eclipse Prison Crystal Bits being picked up by Dark Potato. As we know, and we've been seeing actually, Alpha's been really strong this patch. She's been being able to synergize really well with a lot of the health changes, the low shielding and armor. She's able to get in there with those those gap closers, the prime directives. But sometimes you don't want to be on the leash and that close to a Churn Walker.
You got two people on the leash down. Oh, just one. Just kidding. Dark Potato. He's in with the Prime Directive. SK dropping low. Hegman on the front side pops his Healing Flask. Acro Bounce 1, 2, 3 on Dark Potato. Dark Potato's going to drop low, but Hundor's already made the rotation. Tyrus low as well. Forced out his own Healing Flask. It was kind of awkward hooking chains early on in that fight there. And just a great job, of course, by Dark Potato to realize he had an opening. Get in there with that Prime Directive.
Yeah, it was a really good job, and that's why we did see SK actually egress from the fight. They wanted to get out of there. Alpha's really strong early game, just because she has that. She's able to. She just has so much gap closing ability right now, and not only that, but she's able to do a lot of AOE damage when she comes in with her Prime Directive as well. We do see a Barb Needle and a Heavy Steel picked up by Hundor. Looks like he's going to be building towards that. He could potentially be building towards that Serpent Mask there, be able to increase that sustain as this Rona. And we do see what looks like actually a Dragon's Heart is actually built in an Oak Heart as well. And this could be Keanu Nakoa going towards Crucible to be able to get down some of those blocks. And he's going pretty low.
Yep, Tyrus just bouncing up there. I actually kind of like that. You can see the hooks and the chains broken there. I kind of like Keanu going for just stacking raw health, because one of the ways he can just survive through the Ozo, his burst is just so high early on. You just have to live through that. He can heal himself right back up. It's actually pretty smart.
Yeah, it's pretty smart. And with Lyra, actually, this patch too, we do see her heal per second up, and the ratio is up as well. So there's a lot of sustain coming out of G2 right now, and it's going to be really tough for them to deal with it. SK is going to have a difficult time here. Serpent's Mask and Crucible now picked up for Hundor and Keanu Nakoa, respectively. So we have some pretty good power spikes here. Not really any tier 3 items picked up for SK yet at all, but they are sitting on a little bit of gold, so they're going to have to wait up for that. Aftershock also picked up for Alpha. That's going to allow Dark Potato to get some really good lifesteal there as well. When he comes in, he's going to get that bonus damage down. Fountain of Renewal picked up, as well as a minion candy for Churn Walker. It looks like he's going to be wanting to pick up
Hegman's
this
going to
wave.
face check right into Dark Potato here. G2 collapse down. The acro bounces begin. Hegman dropping low. He's got the hook and chains out, though. They're starting to spread damage. A nice Torment. Tyrus is there. Tyrus has the damage. He's making the plays. Volifar chasing down Hundor. But it's Hegman with Tyrus playing games with Dark Potato. Can they take him down? This is Volifar trying to take out Hundor. He's got him. That's your first blood. Look at this Churn Walker with the Torment doing work. Dark Potato should go down, and the acro bounce connects. 3-ring Circus, 1, 2. Oh, it's not quite up here. Oh, there it is, right in. Tyrus. Maybe my favorite jungler in the world. Just kidding. It's so hard to choose between him and Status.
Oh man, Ozo doing some work here, capitalizing on the trade, going into and taking out that mid, taking out the fronts here as well. The aftershock on him as well, that's allowing for him to do such good bonus damage and lifesteal. And as we know here, an interesting dynamic between the aftershock and the high health pools is that you also steal more health as well. You're able to steal more HP points. Sure, the percentage hasn't changed, but you're still able to steal a lot more.
Right.
So as this Ozo, you're able to sustain really well in these team fights.
So much sustain. And look at that clear speed. What an amazing hero. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to harp on it too much. Just a little bit, just enough. Tyrus doing pretty good. SK up 2-1, 7 minutes in here. Both teams just clearing out the jungles. Dark Potato has made his way up towards the lane. There's not really an opportunity for him to take here. Sean, as far as both of these teams, like, when would they ideally like to be fighting?
Well, I think we're going to want to have, well, we already have a lot of the big power spikes in. We have Cavalifar at level 7 now. He's able to get that Rose offensive to go in and out, disengage into and disengage away from the team fights, engage in if he wants to. We have Hegman. He's got level 6 as well, so he's going to be able to use that trespass and stun up one of the enemy carries. If he's able to do that, that's going to allow them to just dive in, and we do see a lot of dive potential from both of these teams, actually. It's a very interesting dynamic to have. Hey, we want to dive, and you want to dive, and we have Hegman here wanting to kind of stay on the back line a little bit, maybe reposition, maybe even a little bit more forward to pull some of the enemy carries away from the healing and sustain that Lyra provides. It's going to be a very interesting situation, and here we are at 8 minutes in. 2 kills for the side of SK, and the gold is pretty much even right now, so it would seem we just have a little bit of a stalemate, and we're gonna want to have the side of SK actually go up to late game here. That way we're gonna have a lot of damage coming out of Cavalifar and Tyrus as well on this Ozo.
Nice bait out on the Bright Bulwark there by Tyrus. That's a very long cooldown, and we're talking over 20-second cooldown once that Bulwark is used. I think it's also important to keep in mind that if Ozo has already started bouncing, the Bright Bulwark will not stop him from bouncing. So it kind of feels like that, but as long as he's already started the bounce, not really a problem. We saw that happen once in one fight. He got stopped in the other. But I think the Bulwark, the cooldown could be a large thing to try and fight around here. Cavalifar making a rotation with Tyrus through the jungle, right back up into the lane. Caval doing pretty good, keeping, up as far as the last sitting. He's not taking a lead on Hondur, but he's not really falling behind too far.
They've got their chains on the Lyra right there. It looks like they're diving this turret now.
Yeah, turret taking a whole bunch of damage. Hondur into the fray right there. Gonna look to just clean out these lane minions here. Protect this turret as much as possible. But Dark Potato really starting to come into his own. What do we see Dark Potato go for next item?
Well, it looks like he could be building towards a couple of items here. If he wants to get down a lot of burst, he could go for Spellfire, actually. I would consider that. Torment does come out, but it looks like G2 doesn't want to fight right now. So he could be going towards Spellfire. I could also see him going towards a Shatter Glass as well to be able to get that really high flat damage coming out. But yeah, the Spellfire is going to give him an additional CP damage. So if he builds a lot of CP items, that's going to be a pretty good item for him to pick up as well.
A lot of these fights, well, a lot of these games where you do see the Ozo picked, his sustain is so good, but a lot of times teams will focus the carry, focus another hero besides him. In this game, does it make sense to be focusing the Blackfeather down?
I think it does make sense to focus the Blackfeather, but it's kind of like a pick or choose thing. Like if you focus the Blackfeather, he's slippery. He could Rose defensive away. We do see a trespass come
nice
out.
Torment. They got the stun there. Keanu dropping low. They move forward. Tyrus. Oh, that Bright War was actually perfect. Hondur with the red mist trying to sustain there. A bang ring will knock him back. The acrobalance forward. Oh, he's not onto the target he wants there. The three-ring circus, but he got the healing. Keanu with the perfect arc and passage. Ooh, what are you doing? I can't believe he did it. He fall apart. He is so cute with that Rose offensive. Offensive, defensive, making the plays happen. All he knows G2's miss, and Dark Potato wants to get in there, wants to play some games, but he doesn't know exactly where to jump into this fight. And honestly, the Alpha just kind of watches as they take down that Lyra.
This is such an interesting game we're having right here, Humus. He wanted to get the Lyra so bad, and she went down so early, but then she was able to get to portal away, able to just run towards the tier 2 turret, but Kvalifar just dove so deep. Now we still have this tier 1 turret pretty low, but it hasn't gone down yet. Kvalifar wants a little piece of the action, but he's gonna... Oh, the Prime Directive!
Well, he's gonna get some of that action. Dark Potato hits him with that Prime Directive from downtown. Then you can see the damage is pretty real there. And he did go for the Dragon's Eye.
He went for the Dragon's Eye. Interesting pickup. So that's going to allow him to stack that, to get those stacks, and he's going to be able to do a lot more CP damage as opposed to burst damage. So he has to stay in these team fights. As long as he's staying in these team fights, which we can see an Alpha do because of her sustain, because of her long life bars, right? Multiple lives.
Yeah.
She could potentially do a lot of damage with this Dragon's Eye. It's a very interesting pickup for me to see. We do see an infusion actually picked up by Rona. Looks like Hundor probably wants to fight here. A breaking point picked up by Kvalifar. So he's going to be able to get a pretty good power spike out of that. And as long as he stays in these team fights. Whew.
Yeah,
Red fist.
G2, very aggressive positioning here. Tyrus playing games. Oh, look at that. 531 damage going on. What's going on? Acro bouncing around, clearing out the wave here. Just buying time for Kvalifar to make his way back out from the base. On points landed. Kvalifar has a breaking point, Sorrow Blade, and Poison Shiv now. This Black Feather's ready to truck some people.
Yeah, he's
Prime
ready to truck.
in, on to 3, Acro Bounce begins. Where it's gonna be on to Alpha. No termination protocol.com, Dark Potato. What were you thinking? That's not the play. Now Hundor into the frame and right back in with the big ring. Oh, you done goof, Rona. You made a mistake and you paid for it. The Ozo bringing the pain train home. Tyrus, Hegman, Kvalifar. They take the turret as well. SK up 5-1.
Dun, dun, the pain train. It is going down south. That turret goes down. Rotation comes out from SK. They're going to take what they really need here in this game. They need, well, they already have a couple thousand gold lead here in this, but they're going to increase it even further, getting themselves 1,200 gold right there. Not to mention the gold that they picked up from that turret that went down. Oh man, they're starting to gain some momentum here in the game, and we're actually at 5 kills to 1 so far, 13 minutes in. It's a pretty low-scoring game so far, Humanist, and only one major objective, that turret, is off the map for G2. Oh man, things need to come back onto the front foot here for G2 if they're going to be able to take this series 2-0.
Yeah, it definitely will, but I mean, they have a composition, I think, that can kind of catch you by surprise with the amount of damage that it can actually do. Sometimes it just takes a Rona living through just with a sliver of health, life stealing right back up, stacking that breaking point and going to town. But right now, SK look really good. I like Tyrus going for the Broken Myth second item, gets a little bit of CP, a little bit of piercing, and the natural damage is so high that it just really fits well, I think, with this Ozo.
Yeah, it does, and we actually don't see that much shielding on the side of G2. There's a little bit of engage, but it just looks like they're just poking. A lot of chains coming out.
Yep, Hegman keeps Hundor chained up, looking for the second, and he just waddles his way forward. The Churnwalker. Tyrus looking for a target there in the backside. Oh, the Trespass, they find the stun. They're in there. The Atlas Pauldron actually landed onto G2. SK having a great fight. The Termination Protocol not procced off one more time. They're going to take the Alpha, the second life. Kvalifar dropping low. The Acro Bounce is back. All right, we're looking for you, Ozo. Ozo making the plays. But look at the sustain. Hundor's doing it. Hundor's getting the breaking points. Tyrus is going to go down here. G2 have flipped it around. This is exactly what we were talking about. The sustain, the huge damage, 20 breaking point stacks, and GG for Rona.
And it's a damn shame that we cannot see how many Dragon's Eye stacks that Dark Potato has on him. I'm sure it's a lot because he was able to sustain so much. Sure, he was down and doing his infinite reboot for a bit, but coming back into the fight, being able to just keep going. If she didn't have those extra lives, then that fight would have went the way of SK. But because Alpha was able to get back up and continue to output damage, there was just so much work being done for her. Let's go ahead and take a look at the replay while they take the Kraken. Oh man, things were just going so bad for them in a way. Dark Potato infinite rebooted, went in with a prime directive, and just annihilated Kvalifar. Focused the target,
focus, right?
Yeah, it was good focus actually. And then after that, they only had to worry about Churnwalker, who's lumbering away on those platform shoes of his.
I mean, honestly, I'm saying it was bad focus in my opinion. We'll see. We can go back to that.
Focus.
I think SK they missed focus. They focused the Alpha and of course the Rona. Rona spinning in the red mist there. K-Vol are dropping low as well. Applied that Atlas Pauldron on point lands. Acro bounce does begin. Tyrus doing a pretty good job there. K-Vol forced to use his boots and get out of there. Oh, the Prime Directive from across the map. What is this? A one shot, one kill from Dark Potato here? Unbelievable. Oh, he gets the longest one I've ever seen. Dark Potato. My goodness, Dark Potato has like a buff on this Prime Directive, man.
Just diving in so much. No fear from Dark Potato here. Dark Potato does not seem like a potato. He's a spicy potato.
Oh, ooga, ooga. Are G2 about to actually do this? Are G2 about to make the legendary plays that they needed? And the biggest potential series maybe of G2's Vainglory lives? If they put SK down here, Sean, I mean, we're talking about such a huge swing in momentum of the overall point standings in Europe. What a power shift would occur if G2 can put SK down without giving them 1 point in the series here today. It would be so huge for this G2 squad.
Yeah, this would be really huge. Here, let's take a look at the replay, Humanist. So we actually had them pushing, continuing to push. We slow it down here just a little bit. From across the map, just like you were talking about, Cavalifar, 700-something damage just taken away from the fold, and he's going to have
Look at
a
this.
lot of respawn. Oh, my goodness. Oh, the next one right there. Going so deep, and they weren't able to finish him off. But really, this Alpha Dark Potato really doing a number on SK.
I mean, SK, it felt like they had strong control of this game. Some things have shifted here. I've had a little bit of a power shift on the map. Now G2 kind of feel like they might have a little bit of control themselves, and I don't even know how SK want to approach this next fight. I mean, Sean, what would you think?
Oh man, I feel like they've got to not, just like you were talking about earlier, they can't focus. It's interesting because you want to focus the high damage output of this Alpha, right? But if you focus her, she has pretty much 2 or 3 lives. Hundor needs to be focused as well because he's able to sustain and do so much damage with these red mists into the phrase, getting in there. He's got a Sora Blade, Serpent's Mask, Breaking Point. The Breaking Point stacks are going to stack up so quickly with the red mist. So it's really difficult to prioritize who you want to take out. I would say take out Hundor. If you're able to take him out, then the rest of G2 is going to fall. But this is a really precarious situation, and I feel like they have just taken too long. And because SK has taken too long to push this game, G2 is just taking over. We have infusions being popped up across the board. Cavalfar's got himself an infusion. Looks like we have infusions all across the board for G2.
G2 fully infused as they take control of the middle area of the map here. Flares come out from SK as G2 clear out scout traps. This is going to be a fight for the Kraken. SK fighting to destroy G2's hopes at Worlds. Of course, they take another game in the series. But we will get into that later. G2, come on! This is some hype moment right now. You can make the plays. Look at the poke coming from Cavalifar on point down into the brush. Flares are out. G2 just making sure that they have vision over that tri-brush. They will not be ambushed here. This is such a close game, Sean. 6-5. We're approaching the 20-minute mark of the game. Net worth incredibly even. These teams stacking up against each other so well. K-Vol, the on points. Hegman trying to land the hook and chains from range. Tyrus waiting for that perfect acro bounce, bang-rang, 3-ring circus combo.
Oh, there's the engage.
There's the arcade passage in. Keanu's there with the bright Borg. Look at the red mist just start to spin all over SK. Tyrus dropping low. Cavalifar dancing around. Cavalifar trying to find the damage, but there's way too much sustain coming out. G2, they cannot be killed. SK are falling like flies. G2 are doing it. G2 made it forward into the fray. Prime Directive, core charges, whatever you want. Throw it in the sink. G2's got it. They got the ace. They can do whatever they want. They can push in for the win and take this series 2-0 against SK. And completely shift things here in the EU, depending on what happens tomorrow, of course. But this, an incredible stand for G2 Esports.
What an incredible stand. The guys, the underdogs here in this fight, just continuing to do so much work, impressing us. The Dark Potato doing it, getting impressive in these team fights. Wow, what a game. And G2 is going into the semifinals tomorrow. What a game, Humanist.
What a phenomenal game. That's unbelievable. I mean, Tyrus played out of his mind in the Sozo. It was really nice to see that he's actually been practicing a lot. You could tell Hegman making the Churnwalker work. Kvalifar felt a little flat on this Black Feather. If I had to kind of put my finger on something here, it's, you know, maybe some mistargeting through these fights and not focusing the damage down. But a couple of guys more qualified to break this down than ourselves will be, of course, Tasty Bacon, Iraqi Zoro, and Lunchables. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Guys, can you believe it? A 2-0 for G2 in the week that SK could have qualified themselves for